Well, about that time again. A 30-minute musing as I head my ass back into work. What the hell's today? Wednesday, the 8th of July. On this, the 2015 year of our, what are we at? The Gregorian calendar? Gregorian calendar? Sure as hell ain't the Chinese calendar. I know that much. If so, the year'd be like 3,247. Anyway, look that up though. I think we're way off. What do I got going today? Well, other than heading in for work, something struck me a little bit. I was watching something last night before I hit the pillow. Again, I'm going back to movies, which I'm not a movie buff, believe it or not. Like, I'm terrible. If you go to like yahoo.com and you check the top grossing films of all time at the box office, and I think they generally get those as far as you got to at least make $100 million at the box office, which is a lot of damn money. That list has been growing and growing and growing over the years. The last time I did something like what I'm about to say has been years ago. That list was, I don't know, about 120, 150 movies deep at $100 million a pop, you know? Top grossing, basically. And from that list that I looked at, that 120, I saw maybe half of them. And I posted that on Facebook at the time, and there were some people, one kid I went to college with here in Fort Lauderdale, he's like, dude, I've seen all of those. Mike, get with the times. And actually, if I go back to referencing my friend who lives in Orlando, she wants me to watch Mary Poppins because I've never seen it, and, I told her, fine, well, you got to watch The Sting, we'll do a trade-off, She was also astounded at my lack of watching of those movies. Terrible sentence. At any rate, one thing that kind of got me is like recent movies. And I mean, the summer blockbuster, yeah, Star Wars and Jaws and all that shit, like Indiana Jones. Those things are kind of just markers and milestones that you can't replicate anymore. Oh, my little air freshener. Let this thing get going. Oh, green light. Green Arrow, if you will. Never saw that movie either. Oh yeah. I just don't really watch movies that much. But the Hollywood trend lately has been a lot of like superhero comic book kind of movies, Now, you go back, 2015, you go back to, 2002, 2003, you had those Spider-Man movies with, was it Kirsten Dunst, I'm not even sure her first name, and Tobey Maguire. Like, apparently, they made 3 movies with those castings of caricatures. Apparently, they're rebooting that stuff already. Like, it ain't even been 15 years, you're rebooting. Basically means you're starting from zero, from scratch. Brand new brand new Spider-Man, brand new all that stuff. And okay, speaking of Superman, yeah, we have those movies on slate that, how many of those have been made already? Whereas, like, somebody would say, no, Christopher Reeve already did those in the 70s. Yeah, well, okay, generational gaps like that, that's a long enough time in my book. And even still, are they so locked into what the comic books were that it's accurate? I don't know. I never saw those Christopher Reeve Superman movies. I didn't. Not to say that I'm against it. I just never saw them. And honestly, superhero-wise, Superman was never my favorite. I mean, he almost seems invincible. How can you even try to fight the guy? Excuse me, that's just air freshener goodness going on right now. California Scents. It comes like in a little cat food tin. It smells great though. It smells damn good. Where was I go? Yeah, Superman, blah, 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 reboot from the 70s. And they remade something, I don't know. Was it Superman Begins? No, it was Batman Begins or something like that. Man of Steel, I think it might have just been called, unless that's the second one. I don't know. I don't know how many of those movies they've made so far. But they want to do Batman versus Superman, which is intriguing, but there's no way in hell Batman would be able to do it. Anyway, I'm rambling here. just the rebooting and remaking of so much shit, it's really irritating. It's like Hollywood has no ideas. It's like, well, let's dust off this old relic and try to bring it back. You know, for certain things like let's say Godzilla. Now, there was that terrible late 90s Godzilla movie with Matthew Broderick. That one sucked. I mean, if it weren't named Godzilla, it was decent at best. But the fact that it was called Godzilla, no, you can't have it that way. Because that was not a Godzilla movie. It just wasn't. It could have been any random kind of big giant animal that's terrorizing New York City. You know, it could have been anything. Could have been an alien. Why not? Let's do that again. Independence Day. Men in Black. Well, yeah, let's have alien stuff come around and try to take over, you know, our largest cities. Well, hell, King Kong, Peter Jackson, right? He did that. Didn't see it. I didn't hear great reviews out of it. And granted, I never saw the original, which I was watching the original when I was back on vacation just the other month. But damn, you know, when you start a movie at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning and you got a belly full of booze and you're just kind of all loaded up on stuff and you got the itis, that's not the best time to start watching a movie. But I got to get back and watch that original because I want to see that stuff. I brought up the black and whites earlier, and, you know, the Casablancas and Maltese Falcon, all those good ones. But yeah, I have a great appreciation for those, especially because, well, there might have not been anything like that beforehand. I mean, if they were to redo Casablanca or the Maltese Falcon today, well, number one, I don't think you could rename it. And even if you did, somebody would just say, oh, well, this whole storyline is Casablanca. And of course, there'd be explosions, and the fights would be so much more extravagant, and all that shit. Like it would literally, like you look at the evolution of the James Bond movies, you know. I mean, those are ridiculous. They go back, like the early ones were like spy level kind of sneak around, hide in the shadows, you know, check your room for bugs, you know, recorders and whatnot, stuff like that. And then eventually it's explosions and a lot of CG, and everybody is suddenly a master at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and all this shit. You know, like granted, I imagine if you're in any form of Secret Service or whatever the case may be, you have to be good at some kind of hand-to-hand combat, and you have to be a good marksman. But damn, I know it's you know, you gotta like embellish upon what you're doing. They're all gonna be great shots with any kind of gun they pick up. They're all going to be able to drive every car perfectly, no matter where they are. Because here in the U.S., you know, we drive on the, you know, different side of the road as you would like in London. London, England, not London, Ontario. Then again, I don't know if they drive differently in Canada than we do here in the States. We're so ass backwards anyway. But whereas we, steering wheel on the left, drive on the right. It's reverse, right? Over there, across the Atlantic, across the drink. It's reversed for them. But these James Bond villains and the Bond himself and everybody that he gets mixed up with, they know how to drive a car like, man, like it's nothing. Like it's brushing your damn teeth. Oh, no big deal. I got this. Give me 3 minutes where our choppers will be cleaned up. That was my shitty attempt at biting and making that noise pick up on the audio. Probably won't going to work. Unless I got to do a little bit closer. Something like this. 3 minutes and our choppers will be clean. Yeah. There you go. Person in front of me might be, you know, glancing back in their rear view like, what the fuck is this guy doing biting at his phone for? Well, you're not part of the 30-minute musings, Little Miss What's Your Name in a Jeep 4x4. Get the fuck on. Same registration as me, though. May of next year. Well, got that going for you. Where am I going elsewhere, movie-wise? Rebooting all this shit, and just the evolution of film. But something I was watching was kind of a review of the Terminator Genesis movie, or Genesis. Wow, I don't know. It's spelled with a Y. Genesis. Okay? And Arnold's getting old. The guy's like 70. and they kind of incorporate that into stuff. But come on, man, Terminator. How many lather, rinse, repeats you gonna have of this? When Arnold dies, then what? Same thing with Rocky Balboa. Okay, this new movie, what is it called? Creed? Like, what? Give it up already. For fuck's sakes, that was, the 70s and the 80s. When those movies kind of started up and had their high point. You're bringing them around now, 2015? Oh, give it up. Like, has Hollywood got nothing else going for it? And these movies are getting so much money dumped into them. If they flop, these companies can go under. That's why a lot of independent shit right now is making it pretty big. Whether it's indie video games, which there are some out there that I thoroughly enjoy because they are a little different. It's not just, oh, well, this is working right now. Let's everything copy this right now. Let's just go ahead, all hands on deck, we're doing this. Example is, in video games, first-person shooter games, FPS. And these are kind of like your war games, but first-person shooter basically means the point of view of the video game is you are that person. You don't see your character. You don't see, who you are, because it's like you're looking out the eyes of the character. It's from a first-person point of view. And a line of video games like that, Call of Duty, COD, if you're across message boards and you see that stuff. But these Call of Duty games they're running rampant. And it's overkill. It really is. There are so many damn FPS games right now. Like, that's just the hot thing to just tackle it, swarm it, put your own tweak to it. Haha, we are our own brand. A new game called Destiny. Yep, it's a first-person shooter. And it has a little, like, Halo is another version of first-person shooter. Like, these are series of games. Well, Destiny is brand new, pretty much. But Halo, they have, 4 or 5 games. Borderlands is another one that I enjoy, because it's more comedic and cartoonish. Kind of like, if Bugs Bunny had guns, I guess. That's the best way to describe it. It's pretty fucking good. But that's a first-person shooter, and it has its own tweaks and quirks and shit like that. But the first-person shooter genre is running rampant. So, in the video game making community, like independent publishers and distributors and shit like that, well, maybe not distributors, but producers at least, they're making all these different games. If you've heard of Minecraft, mining, Minecraft, crafting and mining, if you will. But that is an independent game. They've gone so big now that they've blown up and they've sold, I think, to Microsoft. But you look at that game, it graphically looks very old school. Looks very not modern in the least. But the creativity behind it, it's very different. And I think that's where it does well, is because, there's a bit of survival involved, because when nightfall comes, there's zombies and skeletons and shit like that, and you need to build a shelter. It sounds way more hectic than it is. But initially, it will get you. But again, you have to build some sort of shelter, whether it be just dig tunnel into a damn hole in the wall, literally dig a hole into a mountain, put a front door on it, that's your house. Or chop down some trees, craft up some lumber and build a wooden house. Maybe you want a house made of stone, whatever. It's things are kind of built up the way you want them to be built up. And that's interesting. That's far more different than just going, okay, we're the Russians, you're the Chinese, and we're on this battleground, first-person shooter, Call of Duty kind of stuff. Because, like I said, it's everywhere, and it's just driving itself into the ground, I think. Sure, are they popular? I'm not going to deny that. But it's going to be so overkill to the point where what's the next thing that people blindly, attach themselves to? In the movie theaters, it's the same thing. You have all your damn superhero movies, and they're rebooting themselves right now. Like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, like I said, they're not even 15 years old. They're redoing them. Already redoing them. They have no faith in what that was. I don't know who has the financial legal rights to all this stuff. But if you're okay with your shit being, erased, I don't get that. I just don't get when you try to redo stuff like that. In the movie industry, yeah, God, you're bringing back Terminator, you're bringing back Rambo. Sorry, not Rambo, Rocky, excuse me. But another one that has people a little irritated, and well, I can stretch back a couple of years as well, Transformers. Okay, it was good that they started making movies out of these, but everybody, they hated them, they hated them, they hated them. Because, oh, Michael Bay, the director, all he wants to do is give explosions for everything. Explosions, explosions, that's all Michael Bay does. Well, what do you expect Transformers to do? Just like transform, have an arm wrestling contest, and then go for tea? No, let these vehicles blow each other up and run into each other and beat the shit out of each other. That's awesome. That's kind of what we need. Oh, but it's Michael Bay and it's explosions, and all he wanted to do was get Shia LaBeouf laid through the whole damn thing. Well, okay. Part of that I can understand. Part of it I can see, like, well, that's not how it should be. The Transformer cartoons when I was a kid, back in the 80s, people my age saying it wasn't like that at all. There were hardly no people, blah, 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 and all this stuff. Well, but you kind of have to stretch reality a little bit, I mean, are you going to have just a movie of nothing but Transformers? Where does that come into play for, affecting the human race? Where's the human conflict in this, where there's interaction? Because, there could be movies where if it doesn't affect us, humans, people, the United States, or wherever you live, it doesn't really ring that much for you. If the Transformers are just fighting each other in, like in their own little planet and worlds, yeah, I don't know, you're kind of rooting for the good guys, but you need a little bit of human conflict, because then, okay, this is gonna, they're gonna kill off the humans. X-Men, they do that. Oh yeah, the evil mutants, the Brotherhood. They want to just enslave all of humanity because, the regular humans that are not of this evolutionary change of mutation, they want to look down upon and enslave these mutants and call them freaks and basically enslave them. So fuck them, let's do that to them. I kind of get that. That's creating good conflict. And plus, does it ring true to the comic books? Sure. I'll go with that. That's fine. But everybody was upset with the Transformers movies because, too many explosions, and the director was just trying to get Shia LaBeouf laid by Megan Fox. Come on. Fine. You do need some aspects of that, I think. Was it overly drawn out? I don't know. But it was, it's the standard. It happens in any movie. The aw shucks guy wants the kind of edgy hot girl, or your Aladdin and Princess Jasmine, the family's feuding, the Romeo and Juliet, that's been going on forever. So what if there's mechanical fucking alien robots that turn in from a Mustang to a giant fucking walking tank of doom? So you're just adding that, okay, so it's science fiction meets Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. What's wrong with that? Seems kind of interesting. What was another one? The Ninja Turtle movie that had come out just within the past couple of years. Everyone, this thing sucks, fuck that. Michael Bay again fucked it over, blah, blah, blah. Explosions, and it doesn't hold true to the original movies and the comic, or in the cartoons. Well, the original movies that came out, late 80s and through the early 90s, those movies did not ring true to the comic books, which came out first. Everybody my age, fucking check up on those. Those original comics were actually pretty dark. I go back to film noir. It was not always happy endings and cowabunga pizza, and like surfer talk and all that. No, they were pretty dark. They were pretty bleak, which is why everybody loves Batman. Oh, his parents were killed when he was a kid, and he trained himself to be a vigilante and to fight crime and all. Okay, well, the Ninja Turtles, all of a sudden, because we were 7, 8, 9 years old when that first movie came out and the cartoons were hitting big, that's what was gospel for Ninja Turtles? No, that's what we knew. Didn't read the comics, though, did we? Not so much. If you did, totally different story. So even those early movies, the first two that came out, rang a little bit more true to what we know. This Michael Bay movie, it wasn't the same, blah, blah. Fine. Nothing is the same as what once originally was. I mean, my mom was telling me that Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is nothing like the Boris Karloff fucking movie of 1929 or whatever it was. Nothing like it at all. Why? Well, because Hollywood limitations. At the time, you could write down anything, and holy shit, that's bizarre as fuck. How do you put that on the film? The James Bond movies from the Ian Fleming novels, nothing like what the books were. But, oh well, that's a franchise that's been going on since the goddamn 60s, still going strong. They're out of books already. They're really making this up on the fly. Hey, nothing against it. Honestly, Skyfall was one of the better James Bond movies I've ever seen. Now, am I saying that because it's the most recent one? There is a degree of that, but it did tie a lot of things together. It did tie in, as far as the guy that gives him all his gadgets, Q. They introduce, like, this kid. It's not, remember John Cleese was kind of taking over that role from Desmond Llewellyn, and I'm naming the actors now. It's if you're familiar, you know who I'm talking about. But, and forgive me if it wasn't John Cleese, but I want to say it was one of the Monty Python guys. It looked like they were grooming him to be the next Q, the guy who makes all the gadgets. But in Skyfall, nope, they got this kid. And I don't think he's 25 years old. This kid, because the original guy that played Q, Desmond Llewellyn, he played that role basically up until the time of his death. He died in a car crash, I don't know, early 2000s, I want to say. And they hinted in that final movie that he was in, that he was thinking about retiring. And the guy was, at whatever age for that final movie. And it's one of those things where, at some point that torch has to be passed to some degree. Now, thankfully, they were able to put that into that final movie, I'm thinking about retiring. Q, come on, we need you around here, kind of thing. And they haven't really put that into place until, I say, Skyfall, where they have this kid. And if Desmond Llewellyn was Q for, well, let's just say early 60s to late 90s, that's 30 plus years. They could potentially groom this kid to be Q for the next 30 years. I think in doing that, it's awesome. So that, for me, that's a really cool tie-in, how that can be done. And then, of course, well, spoilers, in Skyfall, Dame Judi Dench, who was M, James Bond's boss, essentially. Originally it was Bernard Lee, which is kind of why it was a big deal when Judi Dench became M, a female playing James Bond's boss, when Pierce Brosnan came along. It's like, a woman to be his boss? But she nails it. She's fucking strong in that role, but, spoiler for the movie Skyfall, she gets killed. So, okay, but she ran that course for how many years? About 15 years or so? And, bring in somebody else. And they alluded to it. I kind of forgot who it was, because I only saw that movie once when it was in the theaters. But they alluded to who the next M is going to be. Okay, a couple of things were kind of opened up. They tied that loose end. M dies, but they tied that up right at the end, too. This is going to be the new guy. This, Commander Bond, M Commander Bond. Oh, okay. That's who they're going to use as his boss now. But because they're out of books, they can kind of go on their own script, and they're trying to tie some things up together, and I think that's really cool. But hey, they're out of books, and the books weren't even right. So the Ninja Turtle comics were nothing like what the movies and the cartoons were early on, late 80s, early 90s, nothing like it whatsoever. But because that's what we knew, Michael Bay's movie sucks, that, no big deal. Let a new generation of kids enjoy the Ninja Turtles. That's fine. So long as they're fighting Shredder, they're trained by Splinter the Rat, and they like pizza, and maybe a couple other characters. Introduce new ones if you got to, I'm fine with that. The superhero movies, the X-Men and all that shit, where there's one a year coming out, man, you're really mixing in a lot of shit. Now, granted, you're able to tell your own stories, character for character, storyline for storyline, and you're trying to tie all this in. It's a great production, but are we going to use this as canon, is the word they like to use. Well, that's not canon to the series. I don't know what that means. It's just, factually accurate, I guess is what canon kind of means. Doing a time check here. Whoa, I got about 5.5 minutes. I could keep going on this, to tell you the truth. For me, it's only about 3:15. I'm really early for work. Could make another one of these damn recordings. But, man, Hollywood's drowning themselves with too much shit. Some of it's okay. Like I said, you give it enough time, you can redo a thing like Ninja Turtles. That's, how many years has it been? That third movie sucked ass. Let's not lie. There was no semblance of the first two movies, the comic books, to my knowledge, nor the cartoons. There were no characters other than the Turtles, Splinter, Casey Jones, and April O'Neil. There was no Shredder. There was no Krang. There was no Bebop and Rocksteady. Nothing like that in that third movie. It doesn't exist in my mind. It's a movie that the Turtles were in. It was not a Turtles movie. So you go the first two movies, the cartoons, which and the comic books. If there's any semblance, and I didn't see the Michael Bay Turtle movie, so I'm being a little bit, I'm trying to give him benefit of the doubt to some degree. I'll have to see it for my damn self to totally make sure. But a lot of people, it's not like the first two. He fucked over the series. Well, come on. Come on. They are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think you can have a few liberties here and there as far as, let's do this, let's tweak that. I think that's okay. Woo! Got on a roll there, huh? But because everything's been begged, borrowed, and stolen from, another Terminator movie, another fucking Rocky movie. It's like, that's the kind of shit where you say give it up, okay? Because it's following the one the actor, not even the character. James Bond, how many lives has he seen? Connery, Lazenby for one movie, which I really don't consider. Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, and now Daniel Craig. I mean, that's 6 James Bonds since the 1960s. And there's been TV bits of it where David Niven played the role in a Casino Royale. I think it was a made-for-TV movie on the BBC or something like that. But is that canon to the series? I don't know. I think it was largely kind of a satire. A Mel Brooks production, if you will. A Leslie Nielsen kind of deal. It was kind of joking upon itself. So does that count? I'm not totally sure. Excuse me. Here comes the yawning because I'm talking so much. Air freshener smells good though. Certain things I'm okay with, other things I'm able to give leeway to, like the Bond series. There's no more books, so they're basically making it up as they go, or they're continuing it as they go, which I'm amped up for. That Spectre movie comes out later this year. Fuck yeah. That's great, because Spectre's the evil organization that was in the books and in the early movies. That was like the evil corporation that James Bond was basically one-on-one taking on himself. And honestly, I'm not sure whether these James Bond movies are, the Daniel Craig movies. Like, apparently, do they free flow? Are they prequel? I'm not totally sure on the timeline to it myself. If they're good movies, I'll take them as good movies. But Spectre, I think this is going to be the introduction to them. Because, I mean, if they've been dead and gone since, movies from the 70s, how do they jump back up into fruition? This might be the introduction to them, which can really help prolong the series that much more. Because, okay, Spectre, fuck yeah, we got, how many movies were there? And Ernst Stavro Blofeld was the leader, and how did he come into power? And how many of his henchmen? And how many of them does Bond have to deal with, etc. Hey, I'm in the red. I'm getting close here. Got about 1:20 on my clock. But, I'm set for the Bond movie Spectre. I'm all set for that. I'm not trying to dog Hollywood on too many things, but I am dogging them on, dude, why are you bringing this back? Why are you bringing this back too soon? Why has this got to be rebooted? Too much of that's been going on, and I think it's really just drowning the Hollywood scene, where the independent shit, if I can get back to that, indie movies are really making a splash. I mean, what is that, the Sundance Film Festival? That's starting to become a big thing, because sure, are they low budget? Yes, they are. But because of the creativity of it, look at Tarantino. He was not big time, but now that he is, everybody's got to see his movies. Why? Because he started off a little small time, had great ideas, and was able to fast forward shit. And sure, sometimes things go a little fast forward on the killing and the blood and whatever, but it is creative in its own right. It's funny, it's done well. He tells a damn good story on the silver screen. And with about 20 seconds, counting down, I'm going to have to wrap this one up like a gift on Christmas morning. And as always, I will catch your ass down the road. Might be to be continued right about now.